European Division 2. I'm Brett Keenan, joined in commentary by Kenneth Doyle. Very small grid for today's Grand Prix. Again, I'm whispering because it's just past 6 o'clock in the morning, so trying to keep my partner from biting my head off. So Ken, welcome to the broadcast. You haven't raced yet. You race tomorrow, but I'm sure you've raced many laps around the Belgian Grand Prix before. What defines the Belgian Grand Prix from any other track on the map?
It's really just the long straights. It's very fast track, easy to overtake. Chance of rain is pretty high as well, so that could come into effect in this race.
Yeah, rain has always been one of those interesting prospects. We had rain in the Oceania Sunday Night League about halfway through, and then concluded right on the last couple of laps, which wasn't too good for me near the end, having to try and nurse my rears to the end, having a puncture on the last lap coming through Blochemont, managing to hold on to salvage the podium that I was more than guaranteed at that point. But let's see what we've got for today.
Hopefully this race is as exciting as the one the other day was for you guys.
Okay, so there was just a bit of an interesting lag bubble there where we just saw 1 out of 3 for qualifying, so it was almost like it was scheduling a qualifying race, which the FIA had, well, Formula 1 had teased of in the past by saying that's how we could change the qualifying format for the Formula 1 series, to have a qualifying that determines the grid for a race, well, for a qualifying race, and then they'd have 2 races. One would be the normal grid, then it would be a reverse grid for the second race, and then the grid would be determined by the results of the first grid race. But yeah, not many drivers actually appealed to that. So we've got quite a few cars racing out. The first driver out is Alexei Dobinson. The number, didn't quite catch the number there. The Williams has a very bothersome numbering. But he's followed through by Oliver Coleman. Fracas. His name's too hard to pronounce, even for me. Stefan Kingi's on circuit as well. Pretty much everyone apart from, Quinn Maitland and Rennie making it onto the circuit. Rennie celebrating a podium yesterday, or last week I should say.
After having a spin on the outlet.
Yep, that's through Puhon of all places. So that's our newcomer. Just find his name. Tim Hopzak. So the first driver to see a flying lap will be Alexei Dobinson. Now, is that showed him making a mistake just before the bus stop? That's really interesting. Got another yellow flag, but I think it's just a glitch. We just need to find Alexei Dobinson, because I think he's the first driver on a flying lap. Oliver Coleman hot in pursuit. Number 69, why am I not surprised? The 69 is the most prominent number that British drivers seem to like to use, and I'm pretty sure it's for the reason why 69 is a thing. So Alexi goes P1, or is currently the fastest in the second sector, but of course it's only because he's the first driver on a flying lap. We should actually get that lap data up so we can see. I'd say Oliver is probably going to go faster just by how quickly he's been gaining on Alexi through this lap. But it's going to be a pretty decent lap here from Donaldson. Actually, it's going to be a 44.3, and Oliver goes into the 43s with a 43.7. So not too bad. There's another driver about to finish a lap. I think it's going to be... Well, it was going to be Rob Connolly, our race winner from Hungary, but has since altered that lap. Ooh. Bit of a moment there for Max Cutting. Going through Puhon, just managed to catch a bit of that.
If you catch the inside car, that turn is just automatically spinning with me.
Just keep an eye out for Oliver's teammate Quinn. He's just done the fastest second sector on the hard tyre. Now that'd be a scary prospect if you could go into the 43s on hards, but let's just see how this lap plays out. He does have a Ferrari there of Rene to make a bit of transitional gain. Rene goes P5, 45.6, and then just having a listen there to the background sound of the guy talking about some kind of penalty for corner cutting in regards to Lewis Hamilton or something like that. I just couldn't quite fully make it out. And even trying to find another driver to listen back on it didn't actually help either. Oh, excuse me. So, top 10, well, top 8 at the moment is Oliver Coleman from Alexi Donaldson, then it's Sharim from Pakistan, and then sorry, just got to go back to registration. Then it's Tim Hopkins in P4, then it's Rene Quinn in P6 on the hard tyre, so he's obviously trying to... see, the thing about it though is that it's an assured medium to soft, or soft to medium race, so I wouldn't really use the hard tyre if I could avoid it. Frickus in P7. Sorry, Kent, carry on.
Probably just doing a few out laps, get feel for the track.
Yeah. I've learned the hard way that you shouldn't necessarily do that, because you can end up invalidating your faster tyre laps now.
Yeah.
Got a slowing Toro Rosso. I think Frickus might have just run out of fuel. Just have a look at his telemetry. No, he's just driving unusually slow. Must be reserving what little ERS he's got for another run. So only really Reddy and Quinn running the alternate strategy. We'll just wait to see what Quinn jumps to. Another yellow flag. That's Stefan Kingi just warming up his tyres, getting ready for another run. His teammate currently P2, only about 5/10 off the pole time. I mean, yesterday we saw a 43.9 set on mediums set by Alex Gutierrez in the US series, so definitely a worthy time, capable of the top tier of the assist range. If you look at it, Oliver's only really 2/10 quicker than it on the soft tyre. So what we'll do is we'll ride on board with Stefan Kingi and have a look at his onboard lap, So as they get down towards turns 3, well, through into after the chemistry, he's gone purple to sector 1, so that's not too bad for a first outing. This section's always quite twisty and narrow, and there's a nasty little bump on the exit, which makes it hard for people to kind of judge that exit, so it's pretty hard. Either to no-name, you can easily drop the car out too wide and hit the fence here, and then trudging along down towards Supermon, not one of my favourite corners. Very easy to hit that curb and go flying off the circuit. And then these series of corners, which I don't actually have knacks for. You can go wide here, as he's just about done so himself. Into this corner, you can also go wide, he's done that as well, as missed the apex quite early. Here, this is one place you don't want to go wide, because you'll end up in the fence. His second sector wasn't too flash, but this is still looking to be quite a pretty interesting lap as he comes down to the bus stop. You've got to be hard on the brakes, you've got to stay off that curb if you want to avoid getting a penalty. He's lost a lot of time in the second sector, only a 45.7 after being P1 efficiently in the first sector. Sevier's on a flying lap, let's see what he puts out. And Ryan Connolly goes P1 with a, sorry, Bob Connolly goes P1 with a 43.5, so displaces Oliver by 0.2 of a second. Here comes Sevier. Pretty nice exit out of the last turn, actually. So he jumps up to P6, so not too bad there from him. Now we'll see what Oliver's teammate can do. He's now the only driver to be on the variant strategy, because every other driver now has elected to go to the soft. So Ken, from your own personal perspective, if you're the only, would you think being the only driver on the mediums would be a good call to make or not?
No, really, because basically the first lap was anything they're not really getting much confidence. It's hard, no really, I hadn't.
So let's see what his first sector looks like. Nothing popping up as purple. He has got a couple of cars he needs to navigate around, so hopefully they don't oh, that's an interesting place to be having a crash. I wonder how much that's actually ended up abort, causing Quinn to actually invalidate his lap, so he'll have to have another crack at that. So, which isn't too bad, because I've always found sometimes with certain car track and certain tracks, the second outlap or the second flying lap is always better. So we'll just have a look and see if he's turned down his, yeah, he's turned his DRS to 0 so he can have another crack. But yeah, that was a little unfortunate that he just happened to be right smack bang in the firing zone of one of the Toro Rossos, who ended up facing the wrong way in the fence. So Oliver Coleman did improve his lap time, but only enough to be within 8/100ths of a second off Rob Connolly. So that'll grant to be made up, but maybe we'll see what happens with Oliver's teammate, see if he can jump up the pecking order a bit more on the mediums. So just watching Quinn Maitland on screen here, just coming through to Puhon on his final lap. Didn't post up any purple sector times in sector 1, so we can somewhat establish that this won't be a pole setting time, but he's definitely looking quite interesting. He actually goes purple in sector 2, so his sector 2 has obviously been a lot quicker than anyone in of the session, which is quite interesting given the tyre differences. So, although it could be a glitch because he was purple in sector 2 on the hards in the last run, but he has just invalidated again, just coming out of Blossomont. So, he just gives a little bit of a clout coming into pit lane. Just not too bad as long as you don't rip your wheel off. Unlike Michael Garrett Jr., who repeated an instance I did in the very first season. I might just turn this down a little bit, sorry guys, I just don't need it so loud while I'm in commentary. So, Kim, who do you think's standing out so far?
I'm a bit surprised by, what's the name of the guy in first, and still getting used to Bob Connolly.
Just gonna comment, just gonna check.
As I crashed from pins for the new Haas driver.
Hi. Okay, so too bad no one's giving us a real weather indication at the moment, so we'll probably find out evidently when the race comes on. I do kind of enjoy the more surprise aspects of these kind of races where you don't know where people are gonna, well, what the race is gonna be. So we've only got 2 minutes 22 left on the clock, and this is the official time because unlike qualifying, when someone like a spectator hosts, it doesn't have the 30-second extra time. So this is the official time left in the session, and we've got 7 people. Now that's an interesting line that Rob Connolly just took. He actually stopped, came to a near stop into the last corner, and then straightened the car up, and then just bolted off, which is not a bad run to take when you think about it. Does give you more of a straight line advantage, gives you just maybe a couple more extra kilometers of straight to accomplish, which does give you maybe a couple extra tenths of time. So it'd be interesting to watch this lap of Connolly's into sector 1. No flashing of purple, but it does say he's up by a tenth on his time.
On my track map it came up that he went purple in that sector.
Okay, so obviously my thing is busted then. So coming through No Name into Puhon. We go on from 7 now down to 5. 2 other drivers have decided they can't go any better. Rennie's done pretty well to do a 44.0 to be sitting P3 at the moment. We've got a Williams off. Oh, that's it must be Alexi Dobson. Must have had a crash there. He's gone. Okay, so Connolly's gone purple sector 2 by just over 2 tenths as well. So this could be looking at a 43.3. Let's see what his second sector looks like. I think Oliver may have just got some DRS off his teammate. Nothing was flashing for me on that one either, but here comes Connolly around the last 2 turns. And he'll cross the line and a 43.3, just as I anticipated. So 2 more tenth advantage over Oliver Coleman, but we'll just see how this all plays out. But first we'll pay attention to Coleman's teammate Quinn, who's trying to get a lap in. He's only got a 45.8 to his name, and that's on the hard tyre. Last thing he wants to do is invalidate here and then have to start on the hard tyre. And this is exactly what I was telling you about, Ken. This is why you don't do extra laps on the hards, because you could accidentally screw your other laps up and then you're stuck on them. So he's managed to survive through this, so we'll just see what he can pull out on here as he comes across towards the line. 43.5 and Oliver 43.4, so unfortunately neither were able to displace Rob Connolly, but we'll start on the first and second row of the grid, with Rennie making up the top 4. So these are your top 11 for qualifying. We had 16 for the first half of the US race yesterday, and then that transformed to 11 on the restart. So we are just waiting for Rob Connolly to retire from the session, then we can proceed into the race. So that's your qualifying, and then very soon, once we get on the grid for the formation lap, I will put Ken on the spot and he'll give you the Rogue Energy starting grid for today's race. So my phone didn't charge last night, so I'm about to lose coverage of it, which should be alright. We've got an overcast condition for the race, it looks like, so it could possibly rain. Belgium in the rain is one of the most scariest things I've ever witnessed, especially trying to go up Eau Rouge in some remote form of speed. Especially if you don't have the right setup for the race either. So generally the idea is that if you know it's going to rain around Belgium, you put a wet setup on, even if it means that you're not going to be very quick in the dry. You'll probably thank me later for that comment, to be honest. So without further ado, Ken, run us through the Rogue Energy starting grid for today's European Division 2 race.
In first place, we have Bob Connolly in the Racing Point, followed by Oliver Coleman in the Red Bull. Teammate Quinn Maitland is in third, joined on the second row by Rene Vanya in the Ferrari. Shrew and it's harder than it looks when you're watching the streams. Shrew and Alexei make up the third row. Him, Hopper, Zach in seventh, being sent back to the grid with the tour also of Sven.
I just call them Sevier, just because of
Xavier.
Sevier and Freckers, just because their real names are a bit of a mish.
In ninth place is the Williams of Stefan. Max Cutting rounds out the top 10, and then Freckers rounds out the back of the
The
grid.
only driver to start on the medium tyre, of course, having not made it into the top 10, therefore can start on any tyre he sees fit. So it'll be interesting to see Freckers claw as well, make his way through the field on the soft tyre at the end. But it's going to be an interesting slog between the top four. Sharu or Shudim has had some internet issues, but that could have been on the account of me hosting, and that's why Oliver is now the room host. And of course, Ken here is also the owner of the regional system, so he takes charge of when I'm not around or when I'm too busy, which is quite a lot of the time at the moment with Transnation eSports updates, which I can give. So our Division 3 drivers have actually ended up moving to Division 1 as opposed to some spaces opening up in Division 1 for Wednesday and Tuesday. So Division 3 is still up in the open for drivers, and the Oceania is still desperately looking for more drivers, although now it's more towards the Sunday regimen as some drivers have moved over to Thursday. Mackenzie and TN have moved to Thursday, which I'll be now commentating for. And then, yeah, so Sunday looking for a few more drivers. But in the meantime, we have a race ahead of us. I love the shot, and quite ironically, it's another... yesterday's restart race, we had a racing point on pole position. We have another one today. And it's lights out, and away we go. And it looks like it's actually a really good start here by the Ferrari of Rennie. He might actually pose a threat down the inside of the Red Bulls, but he's actually ended up being just a little bit extricated there, and it's also hurt Oliver Coleman. He's gone right back down the field. He'll be wanting to be careful here through Eau Rouge.
There's a self-defense.
That's Stefan. He's luckily been able to keep it out of the fence. Now, oh, we got a safety car. That's why that flag. That's why that dot was there. I thought there was a dot. I thought there was a car stranded on the grid, but no, a full course yellow. So that's interesting. So let's have a look at the leaderboard at the moment as all things kind of squeal down. So Connolly leads from Quinton Mainland. Sevier, who started P6, is up to P3. Now, Sharam's just been given a 5-second time penalty for a collision with Rennie, I think it said it was, so it might be the other way around.
That might be the glitch or little tap under the safety car just gives a 5-second penalty.
It's ridiculous, and something Codemasters have never really fixed. So it'll be interesting to see if anyone, well, I mean, anyone who doesn't have to pit by choice, which I think, let's just look at the wing structures of everyone. So the top two are okay. Sevier needs a front wing change. Sharem needs a front wing change. Rennie is okay. What about Max Cutting? He's okay. Oliver's okay. Frickus is okay. Alexei Dobinson's okay. The Haas of Tim needs a front wing change, and then Stefan Kingy definitely needs a front wing change. So who we got blinking? So everyone that... Oh, Rennie's coming in. I don't think I recall saying Rennie needed a front wing change. No. He's serving his 5-second stop go. Ooh. What's happened here? So, Rob Connolly's been given a 5-second penalty for a collision with Quinn, and then all of a sudden I see a footage of Quinn leading the field, with Connolly then taking position. Now, that's an interesting one. I don't know. But anyway, so Rennie's come out on the hards, so he's obviously going to guarantee a push to the end. Max cutting pit as well, so that's interesting. And then Sharim has pit, and he stayed on the hard soft, so that's an interesting call. And then for Stefan Kingy, this is a bit of redemption as he's been able to get back onto the back of the field with a front wing, and Tim's is just disconnected. I honestly thought that this would not be as big as a problem with a different host, or a host closer to the nation. So it would be interesting to see what had happened up the front, because it's very interesting that Connolly got a 5-second penalty for a collision with Quinn, and then Rob actually having to claw his way back through it. I wonder if maybe there was enough contact for Connolly to be put in a spin. What do you think, Ken?
I think he probably would have lost a bit more time if he went into a spin. I'd say the Red Bull just got caught out with Bob slowing down to catch up to the safety car and gave him a tap in the rear, and then the way the game works, that's the person that gets it gets the penalty.
So Oliver's, because of the pit stop shuffles, has actually been able to recover back to P4, but I don't know. I'd say whether or not, if it was to do with the Ferrari of Rennie that went down the inside of them both into turn 1, I wonder if that maybe dislodged Oliver, and then of course he was just planted to the back of the field, well, near back of the field, and he's been able to just hold his nerve and just carry on. I don't imagine he'll be too happy about it anyway, but he's coming in, so he's obviously decided that because of the safety car conditions, he's going to try something different. He's going to be relegated to the back of the field anyway, so an interesting strategy to jump straight onto the medium. So what's that? That's just shy of 18 laps. That's possible, but he'll be having to nurse them at the end of the race. But of course, under safety car, he does get about, well, let's say he's going to have at least this lap without having to push them. So keep an eye on Rennie, because of course he's on the hard tyre. Frickus and Alexi Dobinson are both on the mediums. Now, Frickus started on the mediums, of course, because he started in 11th. So he's come from 11th up to 4th, so that's 7 spots. So that's a really good job. And to sit behind his teammate in P3. So, interestingly, of all the cars in today's lobby, only Williams, for Red Bull, and Toro Rosso are going to score some pretty decent points. The rest of the cars are all one-car operations, and the only team not to actually have a car in today's race is Mercedes. So we'll be interested to see what transpires from that in the coming days. There has been a few sounds like there's a bit going on in the Okay, so this is an interesting thing. I'm just having to watch a video here of Axel Ericsson, who's claimed he's DNF'd the race due to a claim of flying in the air just going to have a watch. Oh. That's interesting.
Oh, what is that happening?
That is an interesting incident. So he's just... It's like a glitch. It's almost like an invisible wall or something. What I might do is get Axel's consent to put that up on the YouTube channel just to show people what's happened there. So he's coming to the bus stop, just as what we're seeing here now. I think we're going back to green, aren't we? So he came into the bus stop, and then just 1 minute, then he's up on his side and out of the race. So it's an interesting one. But anyway, back to green racing for the race, and Quinn and Rob Connolly have both managed to Amscray up the field. There's quite a bit of a dropping in fielding through here, so I wonder what's happened. But in any which case, I'm just going to make sure that yeah, so Rob's come on to Discord and says, thanks Codemasters for giving me a penalty for being a victim of contact. But got a good battle here between the two drivers. Frickus has been overtaken by Alexei Dobinson, who's now about to try and make a move up the inside of Sevier through Pujon. That's not an ideal overtaking spot. If the driver goes that wide, then yeah, seize the opportunity, but not try and do it when it's an actual legitimate situation. So Oliver's now starting to carve his way through the field. So he'll be one to watch out for. Rennie, who I said would be the big beneficiary, he's actually started to drop out. Oh, Shirim! Oh, Shirim's gone. Shirim's gone.
Virtual safety car.
You could just tell by the way his car was losing control, just going through the corner, was just not being able to stop. That weather is getting just a little bit interesting. Still no sign of rain, but maybe that's why Oliver blinked. Maybe Oliver pit on the prospect that there was possibly a chance of rain coming. So Max Cutting's taken this opportunity to pit under virtual safety car. Is this for a strategy change or for a wing change? We'll just have a look. It's a wing change, so he's getting the benefit of this. Well, was getting the benefit of this. Oh, we got a battle. I think Connolly's been caught a little bit napping under the safety car restart, and Quinn has actually took the initiative to try and fancy a move. And Alexei Dobson's just made a move on Sevier for position 3, so Dobson's making some good use out of these mediums. And Oliver's just made a move on... Oh, is that Quinn in the fence? I don't know, Quinn's made a mistake. He's got wing damage. He is just getting out of everyone's way, so... Oh, there goes Frickus. He's just been hit by someone. I didn't quite see who it was. But whoever it was has put him a bit out of context in the race, so... Something's happened to Quinn in that... Obviously, he nearly just put it in the fence, just coming out of that corner. That's not a place you want to be in trouble with. And Oliver's going down the inside of Sevier through Bloschemont. That's not an easy thing to accomplish. He's trying to emulate Max Verstappen, his hero. But yeah, Oliver's recovered back up to P3, having restarted at the back of the field. In fact, he just does the fastest lap of the race. So Oliver is on fire at the moment, Ken. No, good chat. Oh, and is that... Yeah, so that's Alexi Dobinson in the fence at Eau Rouge. So that's probably going to help Quinn a little bit, although naturally he's just come out of the pit, so he hasn't really gained any time or made back any time.
And now somehow Oliver is back into second place.
Yeah, so 7 seconds off the 7 seconds off the leader though, but of course the leader does have to actually pit, so Oliver's strategy to pit on the mediums might not have been completely half-baked, but of course we still don't really know whether there's actually any expected rain to be coming out, so I'm not 100% sure how far the softs can actually go in the race. So it'll be interesting to see how far Connolly goes before he decides to pit. He did just lose nearly 2 seconds just on that restart. I guess he must have been doing it on a corner or something just because of that, but Rennie has moved himself into more of a critical position with those tyres because he won't have to come in again. So if Oliver does have to inadvertently pit again to change tyres, Rennie will advance from this up into P1. Whether he can hold it though against the hard charging drivers on softer tyres remains to be seen. But he is currently in combat with Sevier at the moment. The only real battle. Yellow flags again. Oh god. Kingy's bloody Alexi Dobinson's teammate has actually just... Oh my goodness me, that was close to a full scale, almost repeat of a tragic incident from last season, unfortunately. Oh, really fancying a move up the inside into whatever that corner name is. But yeah, unfortunately, through Eau Rouge last season, or last year, we had a tragic accident in the F2 category where we lost Antoine Hubert and put Carava on crutches. I think from last I heard he's now just starting to recommit himself to walking, which is good news for him, but I'm sure he's absolutely gutted with the idea that he's unfortunately taken the life of a fellow driver. And of course we always come to Belgium with bated feelings, and of course we also respect that we've also lost, as Connolly does the fastest lap of the race, we also respect the tragic loss of Sir Sterling Moss, who passed away a couple of days ago. Luckily not related to COVID-19, or at least that's as much as the media is telling us. We don't really know the details. They say a long illness, but of course they're not going to say COVID-19 if it was responsible. Speaking on that detail, of course, hopefully everyone is here watching is safe and free from the virus, and if you do have it, just to keep away from people and just self-isolate for the 14 days as being told by the World Health Organization. And what better way to spend your isolation time than sitting down watching YouTube and watching the Transnational eSports? We pretty much race nearly every day of the week now. The only day that we don't actually have any full-term racing is Friday, for Oceania-wise at least. Of course, for Friday for Europeans and Americans is the F2 Nationals, so technically Saturday for them would be at their or Saturday for us would be their no racing week unless they take part in the GD Sport Championship, which will be moving to the time of the F2 Nationals currently. So when we move to Assetto Corsa Competizione, it will move. That will also move to 10, 11 a.m. New Zealand Standard Time on a Saturday. Just to appeal to more people, because I think there's honestly more people wanting to play CDKeys Competizione over the F2 cars. Kim, would you agree or disagree with that statement?
Well, after last week's race, I'm happy to race the F2 cars.
Yeah, of course. I just remembered you did win that race too, and that was quite a commanding race win too. You just had so much pace; it was quite incredible. But speaking of incredible, the pace between Rob and Oliver seems to be quite dull at the moment. Neither driver's really making or breaking each other. Stefan Kingi, despite his spin at Eau Rouge, has now managed to catch himself back up to the back of Frickus, who looks to be struggling a little bit on his medium tyres. In fact, look at that, he's got DRS, but he's not even using it, although he probably should have, because he wasn't able to commit the overtake completely because of it. Quinn will be absolutely kicking himself over over obviously what happened to him that caused him to put it in the fence after battling for the lead. And then Max cutting a little bit further back. He's going to at least score points if he can manage to make it to the 90%, which I think is like lap 20. And then, unfortunately for Tim, because he's still not in control of his car, I don't think he will not score points as per the rules now that you have to complete 70% of the race in the car to be classified as a racer. So
Connolly's coming to the pits.
So
Race
on
leader.
lap 9, so that would be 8 laps. So it would be considered probably the right way to go, maybe, to what Oliver did to go on the tyres. He will be a little bit hard pressed at the end though. So what is, of course, because Connolly has to serve his 5-second stop go as well. So I'm sure without a doubt he's going to appeal that, and I think based on the circumstances he probably will get given that removal because he was unfairly given it. I mean, it always happens. Oh, did he just clap the wall coming out of pit lane? Yes, he did. He's just taken wing off his car, so a very critical mistake there. In fact, there's his wing plate flying off him there. Or was that? No, that was, what's going on here? Why is Quinn missing both end plates? In fact, one of those end plates ended up in Connolly's ear duct. Well, whatever's happened to Quinn, it's going to really hurt him with the lack of downforce, although because he's lost both end plates on both sides, it will mean that he has a bit more downforce. Oh, I think Connolly's just taken the wall again. No, he managed to, well, if he did, he got away with it. So put it like this, even with a, oh, in fact, just as I say that, the lack of speed that Quinn could take through Pujon's just allowed Connolly to catch back up. So now let's just look at pace-wise. So even with a 5-second penalty removal, unfortunately, it would only relegate him up to P3, and that's opposed to whether or not he can actually catch back up to Frickus and overtake him. So the winners and losers of today's race at the moment, just trying to pull that up so I can figure out that. Frickus has gone up 8 positions, so he's our biggest winner. Quinn's now coming in again, so obviously he can't handle the lack of a wing. The biggest loser, I think, in very short time will be actually Quinn, down 5. So yep, he's now our official biggest loser, apart from Shirim, who's actually out of the race anyway, so that doesn't really matter. Quinn going on to the medium, so he has committed to his normal tyre regime. No idea. Anyway. Lap 11 of 22, so we're just on the halfway point of today's race, and Oliver Coleman leads from Rennie with Frickus in position 2, then Rob Connolly, who's actually managed to, despite with front wing damage, cut that gap down to Frickus by 2 seconds in the space of 1 lap. So it's either a testament of Connolly's speed, or it's a testament of how poor those tyres are on Frickus's car, because Frickus just doesn't look like he's got any pace to contend at the moment, or he's just playing it safe, or he could be like me and Belgium not being one of his strongest tracks. And he's obviously just trying to get through, so he's at the moment on the podium, which isn't too bad. He's going to lose that position in a very short amount of time. So the gap to the leader from here for Connolly is 27.8 seconds, and I don't know. I think even with a pit stop, I think Oliver is now safe. But look at that amount of speed that I just think maybe, just maybe, Ken, Frickus might be running on a wet setup just on the basis that it could rain.
Be really hoping for it to happen sooner rather than later, because his tyres are probably starting to get pretty worn at this stage as well, so if it's to rain quicker for him the better.
Yeah, I think a lot of drivers might have been banking on a wet race at some point, and it, just looking around, the track does look threatening of weather, but that could be prompted by Oliver Coleman prompted the move to the mediums early, just so he could get to the window. But in saying that, I would have thought that most of the other drivers would have done that on the safety car as well. So Oliver's strategy has kind of got him out of the window. He was lucky to get his way through the field, almost just to avoid too much catastrophe. But he's managed to then just hold his nerve while everyone else has been around him has been making mistakes. And from it, he's now leading the race, 8.1 seconds clear of position 2, and then position 2's got an 18-second gap clear of Rob Connolly, so even with a 5-second removal, that will only chop the gap down. It won't actually move him up any positions, but it will more than likely assert if he does get added penalties and loses a place to Frickus, he will So we are currently
Oliver's pit.
oh yes too, so what's that all about? And another 5-second penalty for exceeding track limits for Rob, so that's going to be another dosage of penalties removed for Rob. Now, just looking at the gap between him and Oliver, 10 seconds exactly, so, but all in all, this has actually put Rennie in a very strong position to take today's race, so pitting for the hards was probably not such a bad strategy for Rennie at this point of time. So I was wondering if maybe Oliver wasn't going to make it to the end of the race on that strategy, but any which way, he'll now try and claw that gap back down to Rennie before the end of the race. But I think they both share the same amount of penalties at turn 1. Oh, that's Quinn off again at Eau Rouge. He's just done the fastest lap of the race. He was pushing really hard, and it looks like it's just rewarded him with another incident. So just gonna read back on something. Okay, no, that's fine. Anyway, so we've got a battle here now. Well, it's actually not a battle. It's actually Quinn getting overtaken by the field as he's trying to make his way back to pit lane. He'll be absolutely gutted at the moment with the way the race has gone with him. He obviously survived the first lap instance with which put Oliver back into P2, or back from P2 to P7. And then was having a good hard slog with Rob Connolly for position 1 up until a mistake at No Name. Sorry, just had to sneeze there. And then yeah, from there it just hasn't been getting any better for him. So he's now just coming into the pit lane. I wouldn't be too half surprised if he did decide to put himself out, but if he did, he would not score points. So he's definitely going to go for the fastest lap now. He's just jumped onto the softs, which will definitely get to the end. So 7 seconds is the gap between Oliver and Rennie at the moment. 10 seconds separates Oliver from Rob, so Rob can't now use the 10-second penalty removal to jump up into the lead. And based with his wing damage, I'm assuming it's just going to go further and further down. Although that's the gap. Is that the gap? Yeah, that's the gap to Oliver, not to the leader. So Tim's AI has now just come in for the thing. It's actually very close to dropping a lap down. Now it's just got Rennie for company now. I'm just hoping that Oliver set the AI up to something a bit decent. I'm not 100%, actually, I'm not 100% sure on whether it is the AI or not, but Rennie just disposes of it quite easily. The drops the gap down a bit now. Freckers is in. Is that gonna... Yeah, that's gonna drop him down to 6, maybe even as far as... No, actually, no, he's pretty safe from 7th, actually. So, soft tyres for Frickus. Can he use these to catch back up to Stefan Kingi and take position 5 back and make it a Toro Rosso 4-5? It'll be an interesting development. So, Ken, do you think Oliver will be able to get to Rennie by the end of the race?
I think he will be. Just looking at the sector times, he's catching him nearly a sector at the moment, so I say it's looking pretty likely that Oliver will catch him and overtake him by the end.
Just as long as this AI of Tim doesn't impede him too much. We're just coming through the last couple corners now, which will probably hurt Oliver just a tiny little bit because of the AI's. That was a very, very last minute move out of the way from the AI there, so didn't actually hurt Oliver all that much. In fact, if anything, he actually managed to make a 10th back up. So probably got I think he maybe got a DRS boost from that AI car, who knows, but yeah, the gap's now dropped down to 5 seconds with only pretty much now 5 laps left to go. So if he makes a second, basically he needs to make a second a lap, or maybe even 1.5 seconds a lap if he wants to get to Rennie and then overtake him, and then penalties will come into play as well. So I haven't looked at the race director. I haven't asked Ken to look at the race director because I want to make this a bit of a surprise for us. It's one thing I've always enjoyed, is not really thinking about how many penalties each person has. I know Rennie and Oliver have at least one. I don't know if that number has increased since I saw them. So Rob will be disappointed on the fact that when you take the 5-second penalty out of it for the speeding in pit lane, obviously. Oh, sorry, not speeding in pit lane, for the contact with Quinn, who just does the fastest lap of the race. So if you took 5 seconds off the time now, he'd still be 10 seconds behind, but notably he'd probably also be within a shot of the race still. Although making the mistake at the pit lane exit to take some wing off his car probably didn't do him any justice either. Now, on the note of Frickus versus Stefan, that gap was 4 seconds when he came out of the pits. That's gone out to 6.3, so even on the soft tyre, it just doesn't look like Frickus has the pace. And we'll just have to likely hold on to position 6, as the driver behind Max Cutting is on the hard tyre, so won't have anything to give. Now, the gap up the front now down to 3.5 seconds, so Oliver on the mad charge. If the penalties are the same, Rennie only just has to hang on for 4 more laps to try and avoid Oliver making the overtake. But if there is penalties at play, well, of course, we don't really know what's going to be transpiring. If it's 3 seconds in favour of Rennie, then he just has to stay 3 seconds behind Oliver once Oliver clears him. And then it's vice versa, so if Oliver clears him, he has to make 3 seconds or something like that. So we'll be able to see roughly in a few laps time to see what happens, because I reckon if Oliver clears the overtake and he's not bound by penalty issues, he'll probably just hold firm and try and consolidate his tyres and get to the end and take the win. But if we'll know for a fact that if he is trying to clear him with penalties, then he'll be obviously trying to push his car harder to get away. So we're just coming up to the end of lap 18, heading into lap 19, and the gap's 2.2 seconds, so it's definitely looking more like Oliver's gonna grab him at least probably by the end of this lap, and then it'll be a battle to see if Rennie can hold on. Unfortunately, this is the only battle we've seen, so this is kind of a reminiscent situation to the Oceania race on Sunday night when Harry Lillis was charging through the field to make amends to a pit stop error that he made when he pit in wet conditions and got kept on the dries, so he had to make do another lap and then make another tyre stop, but had the sheer pace on the intermediates just to claw his way back to the front of the field and take the win. Oliver's done very much the same thing, so he started second, he dropped down to 7th by the first corner, and then he's just been trying to manage his way through the field. He made a bold strategy claim during the safety car to pit onto the mediums, which in the end benefited him, even though he had to still use some of the tyre to claw his way through the field to be where he was, and then took the lead of the race when race leader Rob Connolly pit for mediums, and of course the 5-second time penalty put him in a bit of a bind. But then from there, Oliver has been charging down the barrel of this Ferrari of Rennie, who last week took a podium. So these two, in fact, the podium at the moment is the same podium from last week, only currently at the moment in the reverse order. So Rob Connolly had won the Hungarian Grand Prix from Oliver, then Rennie was P3. So at the moment, the top 3 have reversed for today's race, but we can guarantee that in a very short amount of time, maybe as far as down as Eau Rouge, or down the Kemmel Straight, we're going to see a change for position, unless Oliver can get a good run out of here, and gets the move done at turn 1, Sandovots, Monaco. I can remember what the first name of this corner is, but it's just escaped me, temporarily. But now, up Eau Rouge, into Radion, and then down the Kemmel Straight. Actually, Rennie was actually quite good coming up Eau Rouge. He's actually managed to keep Oliver at bay. Just have a look at the ERS. They're actually running quite similar ERS too, so they're not really, neither driver is really doing much differently from each other, but Rennie's actually managed to find a bit of, it's quite interesting, since now that Oliver's been in DRS range, Rennie's actually kind of, I think, personally, he's kind of kicked his car up into extra gear and has elected to fight back rather than just let Oliver have the position normally, because I was convinced pretty much by the Kemmel Straight Oliver would have had the job done. So obviously those hard tyres still have a lot to give. He's been on them, Rennie's been on them since lap 2, and it wasn't even for a wing change. And then, yeah, so good strategy call from Rennie. Personally, in my opinion, I thought it was a little over ambitious, really, because the hard tyre isn't exactly the nicest tyre to be on in the race. But Oliver's committing to the inside at the bus stop. There's a bit of contact. Oh, that's a little harsh. I'm sure Oliver will protest that. Of course, that corner has been notorious for its glitching. So now Oliver just has to try and clear this move, but now he's going to have to try, I think basically he's going to have to try and clear 5 seconds. He just doesn't seem to have the pace coming through Eau Rouge though, that's the problem. That's the point where he needs to make all the gains, but Rennie just seems to have so much more momentum coming through Eau Rouge. It's almost like Oliver's a little bit weary about Eau Rouge. Sector 2, ooh, we've just lost Quinn. And that's, yeah, that I know that corner, that's where Albert crashed at the 100% race a couple of weeks ago. It's a pretty easy spot to do it if you get on the exit curb just a little bit too rapidly. In fact, we might be able to see this. No, they removed the car, but it's coming up to where they are now. So as you come out here, if you get out a little bit wide here, it's very easy for the car to be spat into the wall. Sorry, Ken, you were about to say something?
I'd done the exact same thing a few seasons ago as well in F3 and just gone to power second too early and it's game over.
Now, will Oliver make a move here again? He did realise that the mistake that he did make the move here cost him a 5-second penalty. He's going to try and do it around the outside. Late on the brakes, he's actually pulled it off. What a move! He's absolutely done it brilliantly around the outside, heading into that. I would actually almost call that the overtake of the week so far. Not that there's been much overtaking at Belgium this week, especially not in the Oceania race. I think I only overtook one person. That was caused by a mistake. Now let's have a look at the difference here. Yeah, look at that. Rennie can carry so much more pace coming down Eau Rouge, or coming up Eau Rouge I should say, and he'll have this position back, although Oliver will try to, no, I thought Oliver would have tried to hold it back down the inside and retain it, but yeah, something about Eau Rouge, I'm definitely going to have a chat with Oliver about it in the podium, about it, because that's just an interesting, just doesn't look like he's confident going through Eau Rouge, going up into Eau Rouge down Radion, so it's definitely cost him the position. It might have just cost him the race too. He probably needed, I mean, you said it yourself, you said he would catch him at the end of the race, and that has been established, and he did make an overtake, but it just looks like Eau Rouge is definitely a shortcoming.
by the looks of it, you'd say that Oliver was running a wet setup, just higher wings than Rene and
Oh, and
Oliver last
Oliver's
year.
just actually just put in the fence. Luckily enough, he's got a 30-second gap to the next driver, so it's not like he needs to. Well, he's just given himself another 3-second penalty, so if anything, if not much, that's probably just cost him big time. But any which way, Rene's going to cross the line and take the provisional win. We'll just see if that 2 seconds. Oh, so yeah, that 5-second penalty cost him. But I would imagine he will protest that. And then Rob Connolly. Hey, and Fracas has got past Stefan Kingy. I think Stefan made a mistake. So Toro Rosso are going to celebrate a 2-3 or 4-5, sorry. And then another 5-second unserved penalty for Rob Connolly drops the gap to 23 seconds. So does that mean... Oh, Sevier's got some front wing damage too, actually. So I wonder if he's made a mistake somewhere too. So Sevier will cross the line and take P4. Frickus will cross the line and take P5. Only a second off taking over his teammate. Tim crosses the line unofficially in P8. So does not score points. I think Quinn actually will be recorded as 9th. He did finish in the top, in the 90%. So he will be classified, but either which way now we'll take this time to invite our top 3. So Rennie will take the provisional race win. Why is Eddie playing Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriot? That's an old game. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a good game at that. But yeah, it's old. Rennie, there you are. Alright, Rennie, just before we get underway, I'll get you to check your party settings to be sure that your voice is set to share to all. While you do that, I'll have a word. So congratulations, provisional race win. I think Oliver is going to look to try and get his 5-second remove, which could change the results. But in the meantime, a very different strategy from you to pit under safety car conditions to go to the hards. That's ultimately put you in the prime position to hold down the race lead for the most part, and a good battle between you and Oliver at the end. Did you think he would? Did you actually think when he overtook you around the outside of the bus stop? Do you think he was going to clear that through? Because it did look quite late, like a late braking maneuver to pull off. Yeah, well, we'll see if Oliver's penalty comes through, and if it does, unfortunately, you will probably be relegated to P2 despite that. But just a question, because obviously I was going to ask Oliver it, but because he's not here to do it, I'll ask you. Was he going slow through Eau Rouge, or were you just carrying a lot more speed? Because it just seemed like Eau Rouge seemed to be very open-ended. He couldn't seem to get the gap onto you to overtake you down the Kemmel Straight, and then, of course, on the last lap, it just looked like you were carrying so much more speed. Well, thanks for your time there, Rennie, and congratulations on the provisional win at this point in time. We'll see what happens in the stewards' hearing. Either way, take it away and go to the home Grand Prix for Ferrari at Monza next week with bated anticipation. And if unfortunately you don't get the win held on to, just go and take it at Monza. Okay, so Rob Connolly, unfortunate for you, your qualifying was on point, your race pace was on point. The contact with Quinn on the under the safety car looked a bit questionable, especially considering that you were then catching back up to the safety car. So we'll get you to give you that perspective of that in a minute, but the mistake in the pit exit definitely cost you today's pace. Mm-hmm. And what of the incident with you and Quinn on the safety car? What happened there? Okay, so that's an interesting one. So if you've got the footage of that, definitely send that to the stewards hearing and get that investigated, as well as appeal your penalty, because of course if you can appeal for the penalties if you think they were unfairly given, which from your perspective sounds like it very much is. Okay, hold that. Okay, we'll just see you at Monza then. So Ken, you got anything to add before we finish?
Just congrats to the three guys on the podium and Rene on the win, even if it's decided in the short run we won
I hope
fairly
so.
on track.
I hope so.
Okay.
I hope so
Okay.
because I was sweating bullets here. When I saw that Red Bull.
Yeah. So congratulations to the top three, Rob. We'll leave it there with you, mate. You can go if you want to. We'll see you at Monza. So without further ado, that's the division. Probably my last commentary for Division 1. With Ken's open opportunity to commentate with me here today, I might actually end up talking to him about taking over completely for this race. As for the rest of you, thanks for watching. We'll see you at Monza next week. Of course, tomorrow we have the Division 2 Wednesday category where Ken will be racing. I'll be commentating that one for the final time as well. Unfortunately, with the lockdown period possibly here in New Zealand dropping, I will be going back to work properly, so I don't think I'll be able to commit to waking up at 6 o'clock every morning to then go to work. Fair enough. So without further ado, Brett Ken and Ken Doyle signing out from Belgium, and we will see you again next week at the Italian Grand Prix. Thanks for watching, guys.